Hey everybody, this is Heidi St. John. You have found me right here at my little corner of the internet. This is the Off the Bench podcast, and you guys are in for a treat today because I've got a freedom fighter in the house. Rick Green is joining me on the show today to talk about all things constitutional freedom, what he thinks is going to happen in the 2024 elections, and what we can do to get off the bench and onto the battlefield. This is the Heidi St. John podcast. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Well, welcome to the show today. Before I have my friend Rick on, I want to let you know that today's podcast is being sponsored by my friends at VidAngel. You guys know how concerned I am with what is coming at our children. It doesn't matter where you look, through the grocery aisle checkout stands or the Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney. By the way, I just heard Disney is going to do another remake and make a new character that used to be heterosexual, gay. And I'm telling you what, this is everywhere. And if you don't want your children to be affected by it, you need to learn to protect them from it. My friends at VidAngel have done an amazing job with their platform, and I want to encourage you guys to check it out. So I've been using VidAngel for a really long time. I think I told you guys maybe a few days ago that we used to use ClearPlay before it was VidAngel. And so we are huge believers in protecting the eyes of our children, the hearts of our children, and thus the innocence of our children. And if you guys use VidAngel, you can skip the foul language, you can skip the nudity and the sexual content and violence, profanity. It's amazing. You just go in and you can click on filters that you want. So it's not going to just carte blanche filter everything. You get to choose what you want filtered out, and it's pretty detailed in what it asks you. So you get to choose, you get to be in charge of what you allow into your home, and I think it's an awesome opportunity to protect the hearts and minds of your children. And this is awesome too. They're going to give you a 2-week free trial, and if you want to take advantage of that, go to vidangel.com/Heidi. That's vidangel.com/Heidi. All right, without further ado, here is my interview with my friend, Rick Green. Rick! Oh, my word. What's up, freedom fighter? It's good to see you.
Well, I'm sitting here in the tavern, and you're sitting there on your studio set. One of these days, we're going to do a show together. Actually, we did one together in your studio. Do you remember that? At your old resource center.
Yeah, the old building.
No,
yes.
So the next time we do one together in person has to be in the tavern. But hey, man,
Dude,
how about
I agree.
even though we're doing your show, but I'm going to air it on the tavern, so we're still going to. Yes. All right, welcome.
All right. All right.
You know,
good. Always good to see you.
Your audience and my audience, they have no clue that you and I are the least prepared people on the planet, and we just show up and say, let's have fun.
Let's have fun. Well, because you know what? At some point, life is hard. At some point, it's got to be funny.
That's
right. At some point, you got to have fun.
That's right.
Speaking of fun and not fun, dude, what the heck is happening on our college campuses? So I'm watching that they're not letting Jewish professors walk to their classrooms. I mean, I feel like we've seen this before. I'm waiting for the night of broken glass now here in the United States. I'm waiting for it.
I'm telling you. And you know, it's so eerie how, I mean, we just saw the release of Eric Metaxas' Letter to the American Church film. Yeah. Talks about the Rostock fire, talks about, all the stages early, 1930s Germany's going through. And then this little season happens on the campus. It's like right on time, right? Anyway, you know what though? Right. You know this because you've talked about it, as have I. This is great because it's actually revealing to the world what's been going on in the classrooms and the rot of that culture underneath for decades. And our people, meaning the church, has been sending their kids and their money to these institutions, funding this kind of nonsense being taught. Mm-hmm. And so now it's on display for everybody. And I'm hoping, at least we're hearing some of the billionaires are pulling their money. Mom and dad out there that's watching, are you pulling your, don't you dare send your money and your kid to these, not just the poison ivy schools, virtually every college and university and community college in the country. So the only send your kids if they're going to have to get a degree because they're doing engineering or, whatever, only send them to a university
nursing.
that Heidi St. John endorses. Don't send them anywhere else.
That's right.
So if Heidi
and there
or
aren't
Rick,
very many. The list is short.
Yeah, that's right. I'm down to less than 10. I think it might be 12.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can send them to Hillsdale. Send them to
Liberty, Regent,
Liberty,
Bryan
Regent.
in Tennessee. I mean, there's a handful. Not many.
Yeah.
Not many.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And you cannot anymore trust that if a college says it's Christian. Am I right?
No way. I mean, I even had friends that did the tour of TCU in Texas Christian University, and the tour guide says,
dude, those guys are on their head.
Oh.
TCU's on its head.
He's like, the C in TCU, that can be a big C or a little C. It's up to you. What? Oh, man. What? That's how bad it is. So, yeah. And honestly, I'm with Charlie Kirk on this. College is a scam. Well, you know, he had a whole book on that. I've said this for years. Yeah. Defund the left by defunding the university. And not only that, why would you want your kid to go waste 4 or 5 years being indoctrinated, come home with $100,000, now $200,000, $300,000 in debt to start their life? They could be making $100,000 a year at 19, 20 years old in a trade, you know? Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that, but it's not just the anti-Semitic stuff. It's the poison of Marxism all over the place.
Yeah, it is. And what the public schools start, those woke colleges, and like you said, poison ivies, they finish it. Right.
You're so right. It's not just college. You're right. K through 12, same thing, man. They're already
K through
planning
12.
that.
So they put your kid in the coffin, and these woke universities put the nails in the coffin.
And we pay for it.
And that's literally we're paying for it. That's literally what's happening. I think parents are starting to wake up. I really do. I mean, I just had David and Jason Benham on my show, and we were talking
I love those
about
guys.
Oh, man. And they're so darn funny, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just so funny. But we were talking about biblical
entrepreneurship. We grew up right down the road from each other almost, the Benhams.
No, you didn't.
They grew up in Garland. I grew up in Saxe, which is part of Garland. And I was 3 houses down from going to Garland schools instead of Wiley schools. And I went to Wiley Christian Academy. They went to Garland Christian Academy. Okay, enough. Go ahead. Sorry. We didn't know each other. They're younger than I am. I'm old, right? They're younger than I am. But I knew a lot of the guys. Anyway, but they were baseball players. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Benham brothers are much more cool than me.
I didn't know. I love those guys. Yeah. So great. And we were just talking about this kind of resurgence of entrepreneurship that's happening around the country. And I mean, I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you. We want our kids to be entrepreneurs, right? We want them to be. I mean, if God calls my kid to medicine and he needs to get his degree and go into medicine, fine. But I think 80% of the kids that are on these college campuses don't need to be there.
Not at all.
They could be home earning money instead of racking up debt and coming out with a degree in lesbian dance theory, and then they can't get a job.
I'm using that. I'm so stealing that from you. Lesbian dance theory. That's great.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that yet. That's really good.
I mean, come on.
You're so right, and I'm gonna be stuck on that one. Lesbian dance theory. Oh my goodness. No, and the stats prove what you just said, Heidi. I mean, what is it? 2/3 that end up not doing whatever it was they got their degree in. So total waste of money. And I know they'll always say, yeah, but they were learning how to learn. Well, there's much better ways to learn, and they're not actually learning how to think.
They weren't learning how to think. They were learning. They were learning what they should say, what they should think. There's nothing good about what's happening in these universities. And frankly, I think parents are starting to wise up to it now.
They are.
But when you went to school, did you graduate in the 80s? You did.
Yes.
Come on.
I'm that
I did.
Old. 89.
I graduated in the 80s. Yeah. I graduated in 88, dude. So listen.
Oh wait.
So we graduated.
Heidi St. John is older than me, everybody. I just want to point that out. Heidi St. John is even older than me. Yeah. All right.
I got a year on you, brother.
Yes, that's right. Okay, you were saying something about the 80s, and I rudely made fun of your age, which you're not supposed to do. But anyway, I did. Yeah.
So Kirk Cameron and I did this a few weeks ago. And he brought up age, and I was like, well, since you opened the door, I'm just going to walk through it. And we discovered that we're like 6 months apart. We were both born in 1970.
Oh, wow. See, I'm the baby in the group. So Kirk's even older than me. So I'm 1971. You guys are both 1970. So I'm so much younger than y'all. I just want to point that out.
Hey, man, so much.
Yes.
So much younger. And, I feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah.
So, hey.
That's right. 50 more years at least that we're going to be in this fight.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Wait, where were you going with the 80s thing? And I got you off track on the age thing.
I don't want to be here in 50 years.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I don't even remember now because we're all like, we're back up the truck.
Yeah.
This is the problem. This is how you know that we're getting too old because now we can't remember what we were talking about.
Wait,
I can go upstairs in my house and not know what I'm doing there.
I could go in any room in my house, and I don't know.
I'm just saying.
Do you remember
like,
the Cosby
why
bit? Cosby had this bit on. I know you're not supposed to talk about Cosby anymore, but anyway, he had this great bit when he was doing comedy, and he was actually funny. Where he'd talk about, you get up and you go somewhere and you can't remember what it is, but God put a button in your butt so that when you go back to where you were and you sit down, as soon as you sit down, it's like, oh yeah, and then you get.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't believe I just said butt on your program. Is that allowed? I don't know.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. Okay, wait. I got to go back to the college thing. So, and what you said about people being entrepreneurs, I think one of the cool things right now by people starting to, and I say this to parents, stop placing value and identity in where you go to college.
Yeah.
I am so sick of immediately, like somebody meets one of my kids, like, well, where did you go to college, or where are you going to college?
Yeah.
Everything's about that identity's wrapped up in the who played football.
Well, that's where the 80s thing came in. I was just going to say, because in the 80s, they didn't ask you. It was just expected that when you graduate from high school, you go to college. No one said, hey, have you thought about starting your own business, or have you thought about going? That's when the trades really started to decline too, I think, because we were like, oh, that's blue collar. Ooh. We're going to send you to a liberal arts school, and then you can actually make good money. Well, these guys that are, plumbers and electricians.
Yeah, the HVAC guy is laughing all the way to the bank, making $150,000 a year, while the, what was it? Lesbian dance theory students can't get a job anywhere. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
But that's what we knew. I mean, we just, I don't remember. Maybe it was different where you are. And I mean, I graduated from a school in Portland, Oregon, but they prep you for college when you're a freshman in high school. You either get on a college track, and that's where that's where they wanted you to be, or you didn't get on the so-called college track, and then they didn't know what to do with you. But
it's how they rated themselves.
It's how they did it.
Every high school, it was what percentage ended up going to college. What percentage went to the Ivy Leagues? That was how they did it. And now these kids that are waking up, and the parents that are waking up, they're going to save all that money. They're going to be able to start their life sooner, have kids sooner, which I think is great, and actually enjoy life. And I think finding that purpose of what they really want to do, not go waste all that time. What do you enjoy doing? What's God made you good at? What do you, when you do it, you feel better? You're better than most people at it, and you feel good doing it. It's that Eric Liddell thing, when he was an Olympian. The Chariots of Fire movie, remember that? I'm not going to try to play the song in my head, but dun 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 dun. Anyway, they're running on that.
Too late.
Yeah. Anyway, so when that dude said, "When I run, I feel God's pleasure."
God's pleasure.
Oh, Heidi, when I run, I feel no
good.
one's pleasure. So that's not my thing, for
That's
sure.
not my thing either.
But for him, that was it. And we need kids to find that thing. And parents need to be saying, it may not be college, right? It might be making movies. It might be making music. It might be, laying bricks. It might be, there's so many skills and things you can go do. Be an art. Anyway, I'm glad.
Well, I bet
so
no one
glad to see the
asked
change.
you. I kind of think, if when we were growing up, nobody asked us, what are you good at? What do you like to do? I mean, It's so funny. I've told the story a million times, but I used to, long time ago, I gathered all my stuff up from my mom's boxes in her basement when she moved, and I found all my report cards, like from, kindergarten all the way through high school. And as kindergarten, Heidi's a great kid, but she talks too much. Fast forward, first grade, second grade, third grade, Heidi's a great kid, but she was over in the corner with, she talks to him over and over and over and over.
This does not surprise me.
No, it does not.
And now you get to talk
much.
all you want, and you get paid for it.
And now I talk for a living.
I love it.
I just think, for goodness sake, no one ever said, hey, you talk a lot. I wonder if you might be a teacher. Have you thought about going into journalism? Yeah. What about this? What about that? Of course, there was no internet back then because Al Gore hadn't invented it yet. But we do know that someone could have said, hey, you seem like you have a teaching bent to you, really, because someone who likes to talk a lot is really just a teacher by nature.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And I just think it's so interesting because I look at my kids so much differently. I'm always looking like, oh, hey, I didn't realize you were good at that, right? And it's just a completely different mind shift.
Right.
The paradigm is different.
Amen. And I know they didn't have the internet when you were graduating from high school. They probably didn't even have computers when you graduated from high school because you're so much older than me. I
had a Mac. That's not true. We had these giant
I remember those
Macs.
big square things, man.
I learned to type on a Selectric typewriter.
Selectric.
We had a manual typewriter and an electric typewriter. Which I can't believe you wouldn't have had in Texas.
That sounds like one of those '80s songs with the keyboard music. So in the anyway. Oh boy, we're going downhill fast here, Heidi. This interview is just.
It's because we haven't seen each other in a while. We got some catching up to do. We got some catching up to do.
We're laughing all the way to the fall of the Republic. We are actually enjoying the fact that secondary education is imploding, and let it burn, man. Burn it down. So we should talk about the beauty of the options that are out there now, and the fact that kids have all kinds of they can access the best teachers on the planet now. They don't have to go off to whatever that college is or that university. And that's the beauty of what you're doing with the Homeschool Resource Center. It's the beauty of homeschooling and the opportunities, and for private schools that are willing to think outside the box and let the kid, find what that purpose is for them, or come spend a year with us at Patriot Academy and make great relationships with folks and get grounded in biblical worldview and constitutional governance and all that good stuff, and figure out what you want to do in life.
Well, education's never going. It's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Right. So it was already shifting. We were making a massive shift that way, but it was slow. And then the scamdemic.
Yep.
And then 90% of the country was homeschooling. And a whole bunch of those people didn't put their kids back.
That's right.
Once it was over and the curtain had been lifted and people saw what was happening in these Zoom classes where teachers were like, oh, hey, yeah, we don't want your parents in here. Right. And all of a sudden, this was, what had been spoken only of in the shadows was on the evening news. Right.
Yep.
And so I don't think it's ever going back to what it was. I just read an article recently right here where I live, and we're having a tremendous impact here in Washington State, particularly in Southwest Washington. But I'm reading, and a bunch of the schools are getting ready to do. I mean, they're laying over 200 people off, and I feel bad for people who are losing their jobs. But these schools are garbage.
Yep.
They're just garbage, and parents are starting to realize it, and they're taking their kids out.
I love it. I mean, and the market answers this stuff. So I was just with, I don't know if you know Mark Hancock from Trail Life or not. I know you're familiar with American Heritage Girls and Mark. I mean, the fact that, when the Boy Scouts went crazy and went leftist, decided there's no difference between boys and girls, all that. Trail Life, comes in. American Heritage Girls had already been in the space replacing Girl Scouts. What you're doing with the Homeschool Resource Center to give families that opportunity for that interaction and coming together and finding experts to teach on certain things and all that good stuff. What Kirk, you mentioned Kirk earlier, what he's doing with this new show, Mr. Kirk and Iggy, or Iggy and Mr. Kirk. I can never get it right. But anyway.
I can never get it right either.
Yeah. The Brave Books. I mean, all of this stuff is a response to the failure of the market to provide what the families really did need. And so I don't think this is a terrible time to live at all. I think it's a great time to be alive. I mean, we're getting to see this revolution in education and revolution in how families are doing things. We're actually getting back to the basics, which was desperately needed anyway.
Yeah, and truly, I think we've reached a tipping point. I think reached a tipping point with the transgenderism and the madness that is that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting to see Dr. Phil sort of get red-pilled.
Have you noticed that? I was wondering. I was wondering if you had thought about that at all. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I introduced him the other night at a dinner in Dallas, and I honestly, just say this to a few thousand of our closest friends here, but I thought he was kind of a sellout, honestly, because I was going to do his show like 2 years ago, and it was something I can't even remember what the deal was, and we did. And
you had to feel like this is going to be a gotcha because that seemed like that's what it was.
You saw what he with Matt Walsh, and the transgender thing.
Yeah,
he left
Lila
Matt hanging out
Rose.
there, and Lila Rose. And, man, he's totally on the other side now. I mean, he's basically saying,
what I think?
Rome is burning. We've got to turn this thing around.
I agree. I think it's because he doesn't work for Oprah anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, this new network he's starting and the kind of stuff he's putting on there.
I think he doesn't work for Oprah. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like, and I'm watching him, and today he's got a new show, right? He's up there, he's educating his whole audience on what's happening to the economy.
Oh, he had a tax thing with he was even amazing. Showing the how few people pay taxes, and I'm like, this is Dr. Phil who has taken. I'm waiting for somebody to pull the mask off and go, I wasn't really. I'm actually Ron Paul, and I'm wearing a Dr. Phil mask. I'm like, this is just it's good. It's good.
It is. It's really good. And down at the southern border and everything. And the reason I bring Dr. Phil up is because I think that's happening to ordinary Americans all across the country. They're feeling it in their pocketbooks. I saw a clip of Kamala Harris, and she was saying, and that's what we call Bidenomics. And so, people are making awesome ads now, right, where you can see inflation is skyrocketing, gas prices are higher, people are having to pay a whole lot more for their houses, right? Rent is up 30%, and then there's and that's what we call Bidenomics. I'm like, dude, this is meme gold.
No
It just
doubt.
is.
No doubt. Man, I can't remember. Did you and Jay get into UFC at all yet? Or do y'all do the MMA stuff? The
No.
mixed martial art. Okay, so there's
No. Do we look like that?
No, that's why I shouldn't have even. Yeah. Anyway, so the fighter.
Jay's playing guitar, man.
The fighter speeches when they win a fight, they get to go. Joe Rogan interviews them or something. And they'll give a little shout out or whatever. And of course, my friend Benil Dariush, the reason I got to be friends with him is because his speech was so anti-Marxism, and so I tracked him down. I'm like, dude, you and I need to do some stuff together. Anyway, this guy the other night gives this. It's a profanity-laden Ron Paul speech. Is basically what it's like. It's all about economics and why it was so good. And the guy's from Brazil, barely speaking English, like broken English. And he's talking about how important property rights are. I'm going, we've arrived, man. I mean, when the UFC speech is in broken English with the F word between, every other word, but he's talking about the importance of property rights, you're going, okay, there's a convergence happening right now on our side. Like, people are coming back to the principles. They may not, be with us on everything and may not think totally, but they're feeling the pain of what you're talking about, and they're saying there's got to be a better way. And so when you have even UFC fighters out there selling property rights and good economics, we've got a real opportunity, Heidi. There's millions of people that are ready to be converted to the principles of liberty. They're listening. They're paying attention. Their eyes are open.
Well, and they're listening because they're feeling the pinch.
That's right.
I mean, people only listen when they're in a little bit of pain.
Yep.
And we're definitely feeling the pinch now. I want to ask you about what's going on at the southern border. You live in Texas. And my friend Brittany has a page called Rooted Wings on Instagram. And I was texting her the other day because she keeps posting just horrific videos of just migrants just flooding, overwhelming the border, right? They're coming into San Diego in record numbers. These are not your huddled masses. You're tired, you're poor, your women, your children. These are military-aged men pouring across our southern border. And I told her I can't watch these videos anymore because I don't know what to do. I'm such a doer, except for to pray. I know to do that. But Rick, what is going on? And what can be done aside from, for goodness sake, getting a new president right now? I mean, what can be done?
Since you're so old that you graduated in 1988, you probably remember Rocky III.
Dude, I got one on you now. I do. I'm the old
people
lady
at home that are thinking,
fine.
why do these people keep laughing about all these horrible topics? It's how we stay sane, all right? It's how we stay sane. So in Rocky III, when they asked Clubber Lang his prediction for the fight with Rocky, his one-word answer was pain. And Heidi, I hate to say it, but we're gonna have some pain. I mean, it's the 20 million, and 2 million that we don't know who they are, where they went. We know that the nationalities, I mean, the numbers of Chinese, Middle Eastern, all of these things.
It's unbelievable.
It's unreal. And only a person that is so selfish that they are willing to give up their country, literally sacrifice the future of their country to hold on to power, because that's all they care about. So the reason the Democrats are doing this, they want to hold on to power, and they truly believe this is their way they're going to be able to do it, that they're going to convert all these people into Democrat voters, and they're going to try to do that. There's no doubt about that. So I think we're in for a real pain with regard to crime, with regard to terrorist actions. I mean, all of that. I truly think that's coming. It's going to happen. It's part of life. I'm not saying be depressed. I'm not saying, be paranoid. I'm not saying curl up in the fetal position. I'm not saying stay home. We got to live life. We got to be like marching off to, 70 years of captivity in Jeremiah. In Jeremiah, where he says, I know the plans I have for you. And he says, even as you're going off to this captivity, plant your gardens, marry your wives, build your houses, have your children,
well, he says,
be a blessing.
Pray for the peace and prosperity
Amen. There you
of
go.
the city in which you live, because if it prospers, you prosper. I mean, we need to not stop praying. I was looking at this. It's a headline at Fox News right now, and it says that the Department of Homeland Security data is revealing more than 45 cities in the United States, 45 cities in the United States, that hundreds of thousands of migrants have flown into via a controversial parole program for 4 nationalities.
Wow.
With the vast majority entering the United States via airports in Florida during an 8-month period in January, August 2020 through August 2023, roughly 200,000 migrants flew into the U.S. via these programs. Of those, 80% of them arrived in the state of Florida in 4 cities: Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and Tampa Bay, according to DHS. The policy was announced for Venezuelans in October of 2022. But we're talking about people who shouldn't be here in the first place, and we're talking about people who have been committed of crimes. So now we got criminals. I mean, what in the world?
They're literally emptying their prisons in third world countries, the worst of the worst, emptying their prisons and putting
into
them
the United States.
in the United States. I mean, if this is not a formula for diluting and destroying the country, I don't know what would be. The only good news I can give you on that front with that particular issue, I don't think there will be a mass deportation. I mean, Eisenhower deported about 1 million illegals in 1955, and it was an all-out effort. I mean, they basically gave local law enforcement carte blanche. You know, you find illegals, do whatever you got to do. I don't see that happening. I know he's saying he's going to do that, but you know what's going to happen. They're going to have pictures and video of little kids being drug away, and all this, and the American people don't have the stomach for it. So I don't see that happening.
I think they're getting the stomach. I feel like they might be.
You think they might? Well,
I
could end up being wrong for that, and I think you.
I mean, even New Yorkers are just like,
well, that's
wait
true.
a minute.
That's true. If you do the military age men, I think you have a chance at that, and so we'll see what happens on the deportation front. I will say this: there is we're going to have pain from the bad part that's coming across.
I agree.
I do think there is an opportunity with the families that are coming across, or the people that are truly just coming to work, which, I mean, part of this, of course, as we know, is you kill 70 million of your own babies, you leave a vacuum. That's part of this. And you teach people not to work, not to have work ethic, that jobs are beneath them. Like we were talking about earlier, you got to have the, not just the college degree, but multiple college degrees. So part of that is market driven that's creating all this. And so a lot of the families that are coming in, God's changed my heart on this. I've always been, in the past, I was always on not wanting to do anything that would be a magnet or encourage it at all. So I was always like, don't give them anything, don't give them any services, don't meet the needs, make it unbearable for them so that they'll go back home. I don't think that's ever going to happen at this point. And the NGOs using our money are converting these people to communists. They're using our federal dollars to convert them. So I think we have to capture as many of them as we can that are actually coming here because they want freedom, they want freedom of religion, they want they want prosperity, they want all of these things. We have to capture those. And through the churches and through ministry outreach, Spanish language, all that stuff, which of course a lot of them are not Spanish speaking. It's not like it used to be in the olden days in 1988 when you were graduating from high school. It's people from all over the world. But I think we have to capture them and tell them and teach them and say, this is what you came here for. This is the output you came here for. We're going to show you what the inputs are that produce that. And if you become a champion for this, you'll do well here, even if they never become citizens and we never deport them. And if we do deport them, we deport them as missionaries for the gospel and for the principles of liberty. So my heart has totally changed. And now I'm trying to equip Spanish-speaking churches with Spanish versions of biblical citizenship, trying to get churches to reach out. And if you're going to help with the principles, not just feeding, not just housing, you've got to teach. You've got to teach them
the principles
what
of freedom.
It is they actually came here for.
Speaking of what people actually came here for, I'm looking at what we're coming into, right? Because what's happening at the border is going to be massively important in 2024 as we're electing a president.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like the Democrats are doing everything. I've never seen anything like this. And I got some issues with Trump, but I have never seen anything like what's happening to him in the courts right now.
Yeah.
He's in the third week of a trial, and I heard that the judges just ruled that they're going to grant him the mercy of being able to attend his son's graduation. This is political persecution.
It is. Unlike
we have ever seen. And I think Trump was right when he said, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way.
That's right.
What do you say about what's happening?
And it's not just him. I was just with my friend Rebecca Lavrent. She's the praying grandma from Colorado. She's one of our Constitution coaches. She prayed in the Capitol for 10 minutes. I went to her trial to testify for her. And what I saw, Heidi, was an absolute destruction of the justice. I'm trying not to. I care about this stuff. This is my. I mean, I'm not just an attorney. I love the law, and I think. I mean, listen to America the Beautiful. In America the Beautiful, it's liberty in law. We only have liberty if there is a legal system. It's just like when you find Christ. You know, people think I don't want the Bible because it's going to tell me what to do. It'll be stuffy, and I won't be free. When in fact you're stuck in bondage without it. It actually gives you liberty. It's liberty in law. When you line up with the laws of nature, nature's God, you get liberty and freedom and prosperity. When you cross them, when you ignore them, you get bondage. And we have destroyed our justice system, Heidi. They had four. They literally picture this 70-year-old grandma, great grandma. She's not just grandma; she's a great grandma. Just shines the light of Christ. By the way, she's just her full of joy, amazing woman. And they literally had four prosecuting attorneys from the Department of Justice, the head of the counterterrorism unit at the FBI. So this whole team of people for 10 days. We're paying for that, by the way. So multiply that by 1,000. They're there throwing the book at this woman for praying in the Capitol for 10 minutes. I talked to her attorneys, and they said, you know, we practice here in this federal court building all the time. The Department of Justice will normally send one attorney for a cartel big guy, you know, or a murderer or whatever, and they're anyway. So then, not only her, Joy Lynn Maceros is a gal that's from here in my neck of the woods in Texas. She had been, you would love her. In fact, you need to get her on your program. She had been involved for 3 weeks. She woke up to 2020 going, she didn't know what free speech was. She didn't know anything. She ends up in a Trump train that's driving by the Biden bus that came through Texas, and Kamala Harris is not even on the bus, and they were waving their flags and all that kind of stuff. Long story short, for 4 years she has been fighting them. They've been suing her and everybody else in that Trump train under the KKK statute for intimidation of minorities from participating. They've tried to break her and break her family. She's a homeschool mom that had never been involved before, and she refuses to cave. She refuses to give in. Most of the defendants have caved. I think there's 5 defendants left. She spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. She had to raise the money. Like the first money she raised was when she came on my program. I do want to connect you. But I give all those examples to say Trump is the focal point, and I'm almost glad, kind of like with the universities, I'm glad it's happening to him because it's awakened other people to what's going on with our justice system. I'll stop filibustering with this. Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, it says, I'll give you lawyers at the beginning, judges at the first, then you will be called a righteous city. Heidi, we cannot become a righteous city again if we don't restore justice. If we don't restore our justice system and have a justice system we can believe in, that's blind justice, equal justice, everybody's treated the same, neither rich nor poor, neither Jew nor Greek, doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, what religious affiliation you have, what political group you're in. That's biblical justice. We have a social justice system now where the weight of the federal government is brought down on you if you wear a MAGA hat, if you stand on the wrong side of the political argument, if you have the wrong color of skin or you go to the wrong church. This is evil, evil stuff, and the nation cannot survive if we don't change it. We have to come back to the way our Constitution was designed. We have to fall back in love with equal justice, blind justice, fall back in love with due process, fall back in love with free speech and the ability to assemble and petition our government for those principles are dying. And if we don't teach them and get people to fall in love with them and we don't fight for them, they're going to be gone. And when they're gone for 1,000 years. I mean, that's what we're up against. We're at that point Ronald Reagan warned us about. We're going to be telling our children and our children's children what it was once like to live in America where men were free. They own the justice system right now, and we have to we have to take it back. You do it through constitutional amendments by overruling the federal government. You have to rip the power from the federal government, give it back to the states. We're going to have some states that are willing to stand up and say no. Thankfully, Florida and Oklahoma and a few others have said no to this Title IX just destruction. Can you believe this man with the stroke of a pen is going to say that we're going to let men take over women's sports? It's beyond the pale, and you nailed it a while ago when you said it's been enough to wake up people that were asleep at the wheel and just thinking everything's okay and just let everybody do whatever they want, and we're going to tolerate everything. We've been tolerating evil, Heidi, and enough is enough.
Man, I agree. And you said, the principles of freedom are dying. I'll take it a step farther and say they're not dying. We're killing them.
Yep.
We're killing them in our high schools. We're killing them in our universities. We're killing them in the public square where people are not allowed to exercise free speech anymore. We've been watching this happen now for a very long time. And it's going to take the rising generation. I, like you, I think people sometimes wonder, why would you run for congressman? You obviously served in your state house, and I've run for office. The reason that we do is because we haven't given up hope. People that give up stop. right? That we'll just stop trying to do the thing, but we're not giving up.
That's right.
And this isn't the time to give up. And when I look at what's happening, with the Republican Party and with what's happening in our high schools and things like that, I am thinking that the rising generation is where it's at, that we need to put our energy into that we pray for these kids, because their eyes are being opened. I don't know if you saw the video of the young students over on Columbia University the other day, and their Palestinian protests, right? And the news guy said, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
And they didn't.
And she didn't even know what she was there. She didn't know.
Nor
she
her
was
friend,
protesting.
who she was with. She was asking her.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we here? Well, I don't know. She asked her friend why. And I think this is the groupthink that's coming out of our universities right now. And you guys are doing something about it at Patriot Academy. I'm trying to tackle it here from the K through 12 space. We're getting ready to do college classes here at Friendly Planet Family and give the community colleges a run for their money.
Love it.
And because you guys are doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, and Heidi, this is what we didn't do for 50 years, right? So they owned education 50 years ago, and we let them keep doing it. We kept sending our kids to them. That's what's changed. What you've done with the Homeschool Resource Center, what we're doing with Patriot Academy and teaching the young people and giving the leadership skills and the Constitution training and all that good stuff, this now competing with the universities and especially the local community colleges, we didn't do that for so long, and we just kept sending our money to them. And now we've had enough. And so now we're kind of very much doing what the founders did in the Revolutionary period. I mean, they literally created their own education system and said, we're going to raise people to be patriots. We're raising up the remnant to be patriots. And the good news is we know that our system of teaching and actually teaching kids to think and teaching them to debate and all those things, we know that's the better way. And in 20 years, we win. If we raise up a remnant. But we have to raise up the remnant. It's purposeful. It takes time. It's got to be done intentionally. But it's happening. I mean, like you said, it's growing like crazy. Homeschool's like tripled, right? I mean, it's unbelievable how many people are flooding into this space. And I think God raised up you and Jay. I think he raised up Kara and me and David and Cheryl Barton and all of these people for the last 20 years prepared for this moment right now. I mean, even the people that were born way long ago, like 1988 high school graduates. So even the people that are that old have a place in this.
I can see the next time we're around Kirk, we're all just going to have to go out and grab a Coke and a smile. And
then the
sing
spring
all of
chickens, the young
80s.
people that didn't graduate until 1989. We will continue to learn from the older crowd like you and Kirk.
Hey man, well somebody has to do it. I think as we're kind of wrapping this up today, there's something else I want to just sort of dish with you about a little bit, because I am watching, and I know you are too, what's going on with the church and with voting and all that. I've started an initiative here. We're calling it Bring Your Ballot and Your Bible to Church on Sunday. Nice. I was talking to Jack Hibbs on my podcast the other day. Of course, he's been doing this for a long time, and people can find out about that at realimpact.us. But we're going to start doing what is legal here in Washington State and in many places around the country, and that's called ballot collection. So we're getting ballot boxes, and we're starting to get people are sponsoring them. You can sponsor a ballot box through Friendly Planet Action now for just $300, and we're going to find people who are going to watch over that ballot box and baby it like it was their firstborn child.
Love it.
And get the church engaged in the next election cycle. I spoke on the steps of the Capitol in Olympia, Washington, just a few weeks ago, and I declared, and I think this is true, if the church would engage, we would win. What say you?
100%. 100%. I love this. So this, I remember interviewing Jack, 4 years ago or 6 years ago when he first started doing this. And he said, Rick, listen, I don't think this should be the law, but it is the law. And we're going to do it better than they do.
Play the game.
That's right. We're going to play the game, and we're going to be better than them. And he said people would come into their church to bring their ballot, and they would film everything and document every ballot and where it was going, just so they were above board. Make sure they did it right. I love Jack. He plays offense, and that's what you're doing, Heidi. You're playing offense, and you're saying we're going to do this even better than them. This is what's needed. The church has got to engage like this. We're supposed to do Colossians 3:23. Everything we do it the best that we can, as unto God, not unto men, and that includes how we treat our neighbor. That includes how we do our job as citizens, and in this case, in America, as Caesar. We are Caesar. We're in charge. So God bless you for what you're doing. I think that should be done all over the country. You're right, absolutely right about the church. Even, I do this show Flashpoint all the time, and Gene Bailey interviewed Trump, I think, maybe 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and Trump told him off air. He said, if you guys would get your act together in the evangelical community, you would dominate everything in politics. If y'all would just get your act together and go do what you've got the numbers to do, it's game over.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. And so
Yeah.
God bless you. I hope others will follow that example. So you're doing it not just at the Resource Center, you're helping other people. So you're creating this for churches and other groups to do the same.
Yeah, if you go to friendlyplanetaction.org and you click on the store, you can see where they'll see a picture of what a ballot box looks like and how they can sponsor a ballot box, which gives us the opportunity to purchase them. I mean, these are steel boxes. They're secure and they're also expensive. And so what we want to see is we want to see ballot boxes in churches and Christian businesses all over the state of Washington. And it's legal to do it. The Democrats are doing it.
Amen.
And we just decided, well, we just don't want to do that. It's just indelicate, right? It's just indelicate. And listen, you guys, you're a little, the time for indelicacy is a little bit over now. I think we're way past it now. We're murdering babies on the regular here.
Yep.
And if the next governor of Washington State becomes Bob Ferguson, for example, that guy is an avowed communist. It's insane what he believes. The lockdowns and all the things that happened in Washington State happened under his watch. He is currently the Attorney General of Washington State. And this guy wants to see Planned Parenthood in every high school in Washington State. And I'll tell you what, Planned Parenthood's playing the ballot collecting game.
That's right.
They are.
You're doing the opposite of what some of our sweet Christian friends are doing, where they're like, we don't want to get involved in all of that. Or they're just so wimpy that they've given up.
Yeah.
And they've curled up in the fetal position and they say, the elections are going to be stolen anyway. I'm not going to participate, blah, 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 blah. And they're, I have, to them, I say what Sam Adams said. He said, crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you, and may we never remember that you are our countrymen. Come on, get a backbone, get in the fight and change the system, work the system, and then change it to improve it. And that's what y'all are doing with this. I mean, I couldn't agree more. There are states like yours, frankly, that the cards are stacked against you, and it's going to be a lot harder to get the election system back to a place of integrity. But we're going to get there. I truly believe we're going to get there. We're not going to get there by, saying it's all over, grab your guns and canned food, go hide out at the ranch. We're going to get there by having the guns and the canned food in the ranch.
When that happens, that's right.
Yeah.
When that happens, I'll be heading to your house for the guns and the canned food.
We have them. We definitely have them. But
we definitely have them.
That's back home. Get in the fight. You got to be on the front line. So and every state's different. I know we both have listeners all over the country, so it's a little bit different. You can't do the ballot chasing in some states. You can in others. There's rules. Find out, but get involved and find out. This is huge.
Yeah, it's really big. I think too. I keep thinking about this. Is the last thing I want to ask you, but never mind. I got one more thing. I am.
It's an older thing. I mean, I know it happens as you get. Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to be calling Kara when this is over. I'm going to get him under control because I know she can. That woman can do it. I'm real tired of Republicans calling other Republicans rhinos. I got to tell you, like the infighting here in Washington State, the infighting in California and in Oregon. Actually, I think it's all over the place.
Even among those who wouldn't consider themselves, they're ultra conservative. Even among conservatives, we're starting to bicker with each other over the silliest, stupidest things while Rome is burning. I mean, we're literally fighting over how to rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic instead of, figuring out how to avoid the iceberg. I mean, it is so frustrating. Yeah.
It's true. When Dave Reichert was done speaking a couple of nights ago, I had him here. He's running for governor in Washington State. And I told everybody, I said, we got to stop shooting our own. Yeah. We will not win through division. We win through multiplication. We are not going to agree with each other 100% of the time. That's right. That's part of the reason why the Democrats have been so successful in recent elections, because they embrace and they walk in lockstep with each other. And they're brutal about it. And the Republicans, which, I appreciate this. We're like free thinkers, like, oh, yeah, you're not going to tell me what to think. But what I'm seeing is that we have a huge divide inside the party. And if you don't agree with somebody else's choice in a primary, well, we're just not going to vote. I heard that the other night from someone who said, well, I like this guy for governor, so I'm not going to vote for him if he makes it through the primary. And I'm like, you guys you'd cut off your nose to spite your face. Exactly. We got to stop this infighting in the conservative movement and start realizing if we agree with each other on 80% of the issues, we're on the same team.
100%. I saw a post the other day, Heidi, of a guy. He said if how did he say? He said if, because DeSantis met with Trump, and he said if DeSantis comes out and endorses Trump and campaigns for him, then he's endorsing everything that Donald Trump has ever done and everything that their team did. And I'm like, You can't be this stupid.
So stupid.
Are you kidding me?
You cannot be this stupid. You are.
I mean, I love you, Heidi, and I came up there and campaigned for you. I'm sure there are things that you and I disagree on. If we stay on here and talk long enough, I don't agree with everything.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right? That's the dumbest.
We haven't talked about the 80s.
We could argue about 80s music. Look at it.
We could.
Yeah, so that is so childish, right? And that's what I retweeted back to the guy. I was like, you got to grow up, man. This is acting like a child. We have to lock shields with people we don't agree with on stuff every single day, every time. And you will vote for the lesser of two evils.
It works in marriage, right?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
You mean, hello, I've been married for 35 years. Jay and I don't agree on everything. And if we decided, oh, hey, you're my enemy, every time we disagreed on something or had a difference of opinion, we wouldn't stay married.
Right.
You can't move forward in relationships or in life if you've just decided I need my way 100% of the time and I'm never going to compromise. Part of what we do in elections is we compromise. And you're right, we're always voting for the lesser of two evils. We always are.
We would both be speaking German right now if the Americans had not teamed up with Joseph Stalin and the communists.
Come on.
I mean, we literally locked shields with the communists to defeat the Nazis. You have to have some discernment and some strategy. And so, in fact, let me just hack off half your audience here. So, when Trump came out with his support of exceptions in abortion, a lot of people said, "Well, I'm not going to vote for him at all." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "First of all, have you paid attention to the fact that the most watched man on the planet for the last few weeks has been exposing the evils of abortion and specifically partial birth abortion, but even before that, and talking about how wrong it is?" Yes, I disagree with him on the exceptions. Absolutely disagree with him.
Yeah.
But he's moving the ball down the field for the pro-life movement and winning and changing hearts with us for 99% of the abortions. How could we miss that forest for the trees? I just But it is an inability to see the whole field. And to realize, you have to win. How Ronald Reagan, he basically said, I'll take half the loaf today and come back and fight for the other half tomorrow. I'll take 10% of the loaf today and come back and fight for the rest tomorrow. I think I told you this story one time, and I know we're going long, so I'll make it fast. But when I was in the legislature, we hadn't passed a piece of pro-life legislation since Roe v. Wade. I mean, none, not a single piece in Texas. And we were trying to pass parental notification, like the lowest of the low bar, right?
Like
this is
duh.
Yeah,
like the
you still get to abort the baby. You just got to tell the parents that you killed their grandchild. That's essentially what the bill was. And we had this thing where it was a big fight over what the punishment was going to be for the doctor if they violated. And I'm not kidding you. The pro-life community wanted it to be the death penalty or 50 years in prison or whatever. And there was no way we were in a Democrat majority, right? And we're trying to get the bill passed, get any step, incrementalism towards pro-life. And so we got I can't remember what it was, $10,000 fine or whatever the best was we knew we could get and had the votes to get passed. So we're going to get the first piece of pro-life. We're going to start moving the right. They put out flyers.
And the pro-lifers came at you.
Oh my goodness! They said we were pro-abortion. We were all this stuff, and that was just we finally got it passed. Then we got parental consent, much better, right? You got to have the parents' consent. Then we got informed consent. Then we got now 20 years later, Heidi, the guy that I recruited for the legislature that had been a college Republican with me. Not in '88. We're not that old. It was in '90 or '91, I think.
I've made a grievous error, I can see.
This guy comes into a meeting. He's got the little baby's feet thing on his lapel, and we're both like 21 years old. And I looked at him. I said, "You and I are going to be fast friends, man. We're on the same team." Well, fast forward, I convinced him to run for the legislature. I lose my race, so that was my third term. It would have been my third term. I lost. He wins. He goes in. That guy, Brian Hughes, now a state senator in Texas, is the one that passed the bill last session that ends all abortion in Texas. Now, that's 20 years. It took us 20 years to get there, but we got there. You have to play the long game, and you got to team up with people. People have to play the long
game. You're not going to get what you want right now.
Right.
The change is going to be incremental, and frankly, that's how we got in the mess we're in.
That's right. They did it.
I mean,
they scratched and clawed.
Our freedoms, Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, they've been clawing away at us, and we're dying from 1,000 paper cuts.
That's right.
And people say, "Well, this happened overnight." No, it didn't. We've been on this road for a long time.
That's
We
right.
got to learn how to play the long game. You
Amen.
are training the next generation of patriots at Patriot Academy. What do you guys got going on?
Man, Heidi, we're building our own house chamber and our own committee rooms. The Texas Capitol kicked us out this year. I think they wanted to kick me out anyway, but they're actually renovating, so they had an excuse. Anyway, so we pivoted, and normally we do our big national congress at the Texas Capitol, and we literally take over the whole Capitol, and we got the students in the House, and the military veterans, and the coaches in the Senate. It's really cool. But anyway, we're building this campus in Fredericksburg, Texas, and we already had our gun ranges and our classrooms and all this, but we didn't have the House chamber. We weren't going to do that for like 2 or 3 years. But because of this situation, we were like, okay, one of my guys, he's an Air Force guy, he said they backed us into a corner. We're going to fight our way out into the position we wanted to be in anyway. And I loved that. I said, okay, that's what we're going to do. So we're building right now a House chamber, committee rooms, the whole 9 yards. And July 28th through August 3rd, we're going to have the first National Leadership Congress at the campus, and it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. We'll still be doing our regional congresses around the country. So the closest one to you is Boise. We'll be in Boise, Idaho for the Northwest Academy. We're doing one down in Phoenix. I know you got listeners all over the country.
Yes.
Folks, listen, Phoenix right now has plenty of room. That one is in July. We got Florida, still has plenty of room.
That's
the
why
Southeast.
it has plenty of room.
Phoenix in July. I know. I'm really smart about when I schedule things.
I feel like I need to whisper
Yeah,
this to you.
Texas in August. I'm really not planning well. But I have old, wise people around me that graduated like in 1988, and so those old wise people are helping. So the more you tell me, the more I'll maybe listen. And anyway, all right, listen, folks. Go to patriotacademy.com and click on Leadership Congress. There's 7 of them all over the country, 16 to 25-year-olds. That's who can come to these. And I'm telling you, they will get everything Heidi and I were talking about earlier. They'll get leadership training. They'll get purpose. They'll get to really start figuring out what's God put in my heart, what's the desire in my heart, what's he want me to do. And they'll get to sharpen countenance with some other young people from across the nation. And best of all, I think we're at 40-something weddings out of Patriot Academy. So you might even meet that amazing fellow patriot from, wherever that shares your values.
What are the ages of kids? What are the ages?
16 to 25.
So all the parents who've got young people still living at home that are like 20 years old, like Patriot Academy, write that down.
That's right. Patriot Academy, come on, bring them on, Come on. And then, I hope we can find a date in the fall for just off the bench folks and at the camp, because once we build this House chamber, we're going to have the Patriot experience. So all ages, even those who graduated in 88, all ages get to come to the campus and spend a week with us and do the Patriot experience. You get to be a legislator for a few days, Constitution training, handgun defense course, which you've done and did amazing.
I have.
And
I need a refresher though, dude.
Yeah,
it's true. I got to come back.
We need to do it. We'll set aside a week, and we got like 40 cabins on the campus, so you can brand new. You can stay on site and then roll out of bed and go be a legislator or whatever we're doing that week. So anyway, we'll find a week. We'll find a week. We'll make it the off the bench week.
That's good. I love it. Rick Green, you are a national treasure. Thanks for taking some time with me today. It's been a hoot and holler and good time. It always is.
Right back at you. Thanks, Heidi. God bless you.
God bless you too. For more information on my guest today, head on over to HeidiSt.John.com/podcast. You guys, I hope you're encouraged. I know I am. Get off the bench, get into the game, and I'll see you right back here again at the intersection of faith and